Hello, back again. And this time it's something a little bigger. Just to make sure you guys knew that I didn't just race 10 scale vintage and some other cars. Well, this one's kind of getting vintage. This is my team associated RC8B3e. I believe it's been upgraded to the 0.1, which is mainly the diffs. I think there might have been some shock tower changes as well. But this was actually the last buggy I know of that was raced at SDRC indoor before they changed the rules to smaller classes. Anyway, I'll get into that a little bit. But yeah, I wanted to give you an overview of this much bigger car and a little bit of history about it, and just 8th scale in general for me. Actually, the first 8th scale I got to date myself was this Mugen Super Athlete. I believe the engine at the time wasn't on this side, it was on this side. And I used to race it. I got it used, as all my 8th scale cars, just because of price. And I raced it at Palm Springs a few times and just up and down the street. And then neighbors were complaining of it. And when I finally moved to Arizona, I decided to sell it. I didn't have money to keep up all the cars, and that one was just getting more expensive. As fun as it was, just required more money than I was able to throw at it. So let that one go, and really didn't touch 8th scale again for maybe 10 years or more. And then I got the opportunity to buy this one. I was up at SDRC racing 17.5 and some other classes, and I saw the owner there at the time. I think it was Travis. He was just getting rid of it, and I knew a week or two before they made a rule, basically no 8th scales were going to be on the track anymore. Apparently they had some type of issue, and they just couldn't run the bigger cars in the track. Now, if you go to other tracks like OCRC used to run them indoors, a few other ones, they didn't have a problem with it so much. But SDRC came down on it and said, yeah, we're only going to race 10 scale vehicles indoors from now on. So I picked it up from them. Luckily, I got it we bargained a little bit, and I got it at a great deal. I got it with electronics. Had to get some tires, I believe, and electronics. He even threw in a new dog bone for me, Universal. I've got some mean tires mounted up here right now. These are the J Concepts Magmas. I wanted to try these out. These are a little bit aggressive, as you can see. But I wanted something that was a little bit more good, just that would work in soft sand almost, and also, if I played on the street. I have another set of tires. I'll use some Proline that seem to work good on the street as well, something that's all-terrain. But with as much horsepower as these things put down, they're pretty impressive. It's a 4S car. Huge shocks, 17 millimeter bolts holding on the wheels. I use a full-size Craftsman wrench to get these things on and off. I know they make this little handheld one, but I like the torque I get from a real tool. You've got camber links in the back. You've got double in the front, and this is your pivot ball suspension. And I got to go back and look at these because we actually have two of them. I end up getting one later on too for my son, but it does have some play in it. And the steering feels tight from the servo. But it's a key purpose servo. First time I've ever had one of these, and they're pretty tight. I've raced it a few times with A&B, but our local track is starting up again, and they're using a cheaper system. And so instead of telling everybody, hey, go buy your $130 Malapse transponder and getting all the software, no, they're just using a cheap TrackMate for pickup at this time because it's just club racing. So yeah, that's how they're starting to count laps there. I've got my laps just kind of floating around between that and my short course truck. This thing is a little bit loud. I'll turn it on real quick because there's a few things I did to it. The track right now is going through some changes, and where they've got the lights, doesn't have good lighting. So I've got lights on this car. This is the Team Associated Formula 1 light. In the front, I've got a Proline light inside. Going to help me guide where I'm at. And then inside, I've got several fans. As you can hear, it's not exactly quiet in here. Come on. There we go. Unplugged. Okay. So, inside, we've got the fan off the RSC, the ESC. I had an RX8 Pro 2 and touched the connector the wrong way with this type of connector about a year or so ago, and it fried the ESC. I got a hold of Tika, and they were like, yeah, we can get you a new one for, $300 bucks. I was like, what about the repair? Oh, about $300 bucks. I was like, okay, never mind. So I ended up just shelving it and took it apart. MOSFETs or something blew up in it. These things aren't protected that way. And it actually just sat on the shelf for a while, and then my nephew was actually getting out of something. He's like, hey, you want my RX4? I was like, well, let me play around with it. And I actually found that it took pretty much the same programming as the RX8. But from the factory, it was set up for, of course, for crawling. but it's definitely overkill, and it's a really good ESC, and I double checked, and some people were using it for this. So you just have to go through, remove all the drag brake, of course, and some other things, but it can hold the power, and it feels very similar to the Tiken RX8. So it's getting me by, so I can go out and play. As you can see, it gets hot out here in the desert. I've got a giant heat sink on the motor, along with a fan. It has a spot for a second one, but these fans are too big, the ones I picked up, so I've got them doing that. This is my run for the body, which I have for the light and that housing. I just got to kind of glue it inside. And then a giant 4S pack, as you can see in here. I've tried different packs over the years, and these can get pretty pricey. These are just cheap ones I picked up from a sale, and then maybe one on Amazon. It was just to get me racing. So I just use adapters on that. I'm not a big fan of these connectors. If these EC3, not EC3, I forget the name of these red ones, but if they're not inputting just right, the connections actually stick beyond the housing and can cause you some real headaches if they touch something they're not supposed to. Trust me. Our track is pretty muddy, so I've got guards on the back, and I'm also trying the last set of the J Concepts rims that I could find like this, that have the inside where basically there's no webbing, as you can see. The webbing's actually on the outside, and this yellow part is actually a cover. So all the rims are black, and you get either yellow or white. And I think it was ahead of its time. I've seen some people lose a race because of rocks or something that gets caught in the ribs inside the tire. If you're in really soft conditions, that can happen. But with these rims, they can't, which I love. And it's a shame that these didn't catch on. So they're pretty cool. Diffs have all been redone. I know they did some type of change to the diff housing, I think, or something on the .1. But I basically had to change, I think, the outdrive gear, because it's a little bit different gearing by factory on the .1. Anyway, I've got the diffs redone, and they're sitting at factory right now, and they actually feel pretty good. This car can be really aggressive in the corners. It's weird, but it's a fun car. I got a good deal on it, which is why I have it. Otherwise, it's too expensive for me to invest in something like this at the level. I mean, the car's $600, then you gotta get electronics. It adds up pretty quick, right? I've got my old paint scheme on here, and the old track I used to race at to date myself also had these removable numbers on the wing. I've got just a green wing so I can see it better, but you would change out your numbers and just put on there what it was in case I had to do any manual lap counting. I found a good use of them, just looking cool here on the 8th scale, so that's where they're at. And again, I've got a kind of a bright paint scheme on it just to help me see it better at night along with the lighting. And yeah, it feels pretty good, pretty balanced. I'm hoping to get some more time on it this year and see what I can do. Yeah, if you're thinking about 8th scale, look at the used market. Just do your homework. This thing, I know I can have a great time with it. It handles... I've driven some C-Hub cars since then. I think C-Hub might be more my style. So I'm just trying to get the pivot ball suspension to kind of work the way I'm used to. But it's weird going in the corner and actually driving faster as opposed to kind of setting up prior to the corner. It's really hard for me to explain the way this drives. But 4S, you can have ton of power on it. You've got, of course, your ABCD blocks hidden in here, these nice blue sections you see there. Sway bars, factory. I did up the springs a little bit just because we're racing outdoor. We're going to hit some stuff. This thing does get dirty after a night and spend hours sometimes the next day cleaning it. Comparison-wise, I'll show you the other buggy I have here, which is another RC8B3e. This one is one my son uses. And this one works pretty good too. I was surprised how well these stock tires work. I think these are Acas on this one. They feel pretty dialed, the impacts. And then I currently have another set of used Pro lines I just had to re-glue them on my ebuggy. Yeah, you double check these beads. Make sure they don't tear glue up after a while, because that will happen in this class. Got a J Concepts wing hanging off the back here, just for a little bit better visibility. We took it out one night and we had a black wing, the factory one. It just couldn't see it. So I had the hobby shop order me in a J Concepts option I wanted to try. It's got these huge number pads on the side, which I think are pretty cool. It's very motocross-esque on there. Very similar setups. His car just feels better, so I'm just kind of comparing. I think his car might be a little bit newer than mine. I didn't have the guards and I didn't want to buy them again, so I made them up out of Lexan. So there they are, hiding in the back. Metal shock tower in the front, carbon fiber in the back. I would go Nitro. You know, Nitro is fun. I'm starting to work with some of the guys that have Nitro out there again. Just the cost, getting in the, it's hard to justify buying a $300 motor when I could be using that to fix a real motor I'm working on outside. So I think I'll get the Ford 289 going before I drop in a 0.21cc into this guy. So yeah, I keep my eyes open on that. But these are a fun class. I was bummed to hear that changes with the E-Nats. It was something I was watching over the years, but they declined, and now Roar has removed the short course truck. So my thinking was, when the class was running, I was probably going to take this buggy or the other one up, and also my short course. But now that they're combining it, they're doing something else in Texas. I look at that and I go, nope, maybe that's not for me. It's going to get expensive with traveling and everything else. So I've kind of backed away from that, and now I'm just using them at the local level. If something pops up in my area, great. I'm going to go take a look at it and see what I can do. If not, I'm going to have a good time. But yeah, those are just kind of a quick overview of my RC8B3 buggies.